Well, hello, my inky friends. It's Cindy Lynn with My Inky Fingers. Thank you so much for joining me today on my YouTube channel and blog. If you're new here, welcome. Today, I've got this beautiful little, I'm going to call it a window wreath card. So I'm going to lay out all of the colors that you're going to need, and then I'm going to show you on which pieces to put your dies, okay? And all the supplies I used are listed down below in the description. So lay all of your dies on your coordinating colors. You can use any colors you like. If you want to use the colors I used, you'll see them linked below. I did use some retired Stampin' Up glimmer paper, if you will, but you can use any paper that you like. So I'm going to die cut all of those, but here I've got some silver foil and I want to use a Stampin' Right marker just to color my foil so that I can die cut that out. Now be sure to not go over top of your coloring. Do it one time, because if you go over top of it, you'll make it streaky. And I showed you there, it will transfer to the die if you don't let it dry. It won't transfer to other cardstock in the future, but if you're worried about that, then let your ink dry before you die cut it. So I've got all my little pieces die cut, and now I kind of don't want the whole circle. I thought it was a little bit busy. Let me know what you think about using the whole die for the wreath. So I want to kind of trim them up a little bit. So I'm just kind of looking at them and getting an eyeball, manipulating them and figuring out where I kind of want to trim them and how I want them to look. And I kind of want them to be balanced on the left-hand side. So I'm just kind of playing around, and it's really easy to cut your dies apart. And if you do it properly, you could probably even save the other half and use it on a second card. So I'm kind of went in real time here. I wanted you guys to see a really good video on where I cut them in case you wanted to come back and watch that. But I wanted to make sure that I left a lot of the stars here too, because I've got a little thing I'm going to put on the stars just to kind of add a little zhuzh to my card afterward. So I've almost got that one done. And a few little pieces poking in the center is not a big deal at all. So now I wouldn't be a My Inky Fingers card if I didn't bring out my splatter. So I've got my splatter box here. And first of all, I'm actually going to spray these with some shimmer spray. Now I'm out of my Stampin' Up shimmer spray because they don't carry the paint pots anymore. So watch, I'm going to give you guys my new recipe on how to create your own shimmer spray, if you will. So again, here's my splatter, and I'm going to go with the silver, and that's I've actually got that silver in my sprays and splatters, if you will. So I will end this white one. I will link that for you guys so you can go back and look at those recipes. Now I've got my black, and I want to do my sentiment. Now I'm going to use that peace, joy, love, but I only want one word. I want the love here. So I'll save the peace and joy for perhaps a future card. But this card, I kind of felt like the sentiment was really personal, and it seemed like it would go really well for a very, very dear person or a very close loved one. So I'm making this card for my auntie. Actually, I made two, so one will go to Todd's parents. But here, see how I got that white piece of paper? I lined that up where I wanted my black to cut, and I made sure it was long enough that I could line it up there with the edge of my blade so that I could cut each one perfectly straight. Super, super easy little tip there for you guys. So each one is a perfect cut. Now I had a little bit extra on the bottom, so I just eyeballed that and it turned out perfectly. So from here, I'm going to save that peace and joy. And those are those little inserts that I have in my how I store my stamps and dies, how I store my dies, I believe. And all those little dies, I'll link it for you guys. All those little extra bits and bobs, I put them in that little piece of plastic, and it just goes right perfectly in the back of my case. So there is my actual splattered piece. Now I'm going to want to attach this to my card and make sure it's nice and dry, because I don't want a whole bunch of, I don't want it sliding around. And I'm not going to put a lot of glue in the middle, just around the outside, because I don't want that to transfer onto my actual dies that I'm going to cut this circle out of. So I'm going to lay that one big wreath down, and I'm going to put the circle underneath it just to kind of eyeball where I want my window to be. So I can see that there. I'm going to tape it. Now I'm going to open it and run it through my Big Boss. And there you can see how easy was that. Perfect. And I'm going to show you how to get the sentiment in there perfectly as well. Now I use very thick cardstock, 120 pounds. So that was my Teflon bone folder. Just making sure that I've got a nice crisp burnish there so the card lays a little flatter. They never lay 100% perfectly flat, but that's okay because nobody displays them perfectly flat. They stand them up, right? And this gives a lot of stability so the cards don't get lazy and fall flat when they're standing up. So here, be sure now that you are gluing on the outside of your wreath so that none of those little bits of glue touch the inside. And you can see I'm using my F block, and then I can put my next piece over top of my F block because I can see through, and I get a really, really good idea of where I don't want to glue. Okay, so again, putting my F block on there because I don't want any of those pieces to move whatsoever. So I'm going to trim up my love because it goes perfectly with the inside sentiment. And I just wanted to trim it up a little bit more. So I did that with my scissors using my black dimensionals. You know me, got to have those black dimensionals underneath black cardstock. So here, I want to just get an eyeball now of where all these little bits and bobs are going to go. There's the green ones that I colored with my Stampin' Blend, my alcohol ink marker. And again, go over one time when you color. Don't go back and forth and back and forth. If you do it, you'll see what I mean. You want to get one even coverage there. So I'm going to get all of those little pieces in there and eyeball them before I actually glue them. So there are my channel members. Just a quick thank you for supporting my channel. They all get to come to all the Stampin' Chats for free. Some of them at Inky Bestie level get to come to my card classes. They're all live for free and ad free. So if you want a little bit more information about how to join my channel, definitely click the join my channel below. And if you just want to support me by subscribing, that's always free, and I always appreciate that very much. Now I've got them all in. I'm going to pull them out one by one, add a little bit of glue, and just put them back. And you can see there I used the snowflake with the shimmer glimmer. I can't remember the name of it, it's retired, but I used that there. So I got a perfect layout of where I wanted everything. I really liked putting them in, pulling them out one by one, gluing them, and putting them back. So here, now is where I want to get that sentiment. So I've got that piece of acetate that I printed graph paper on, and then I laminated it so the lines were in there perfectly. So I'm going to kind of position my stamp, as you can see, keeping it to the left-hand side so that when I pick it up with the door, I can then stamp it on that piece of acetate. You don't need grid paper for this one. You could use any acetate here, but now it's stamped on the acetate. Make sure it's dry because you don't want that ink transferring to the inside of your card. But you see now I can move that around and manipulate it, making sure that that piece is always in the corner. Your acetate's in the corner the first time you stamp it, and then once you've got it positioned, lay it back down and make sure it's in the corner. Hold it tight there, and then put your magnets on your card, because your card is where the ink is going to go this time, and now it's going to stamp exactly where you saw it on your acetate. So then when you close your card, it's an absolute perfect impression. It's exactly where you want it. I absolutely love that. So now it's just, finishing it off with a few little embellishments. I listed them all down below, and I'm just going to lay them there first, like I did with all the little bits and bobs in my wreath, and put my little bits of glue and then put them back. Now here, this was super cool. I mean, those little stars in that embellishment kit, they fit perfectly right in most of the stars in that wreath. I absolutely love those. So hopefully you enjoyed today's card. Thank you so much for joining me, and until I see you guys again, take care and happy stamping.